You know I probably need an intervention when I'm actually dreaming about Defenders. Today, I'm going to tell you about Byzek, the Helderburg 110. Hi, I'm Paul with Helderburg, and today we're going to talk about Byzek, the D110. So, honest truth here. I had a dream about building something that was a little different than the norm. And what I mean by different than the norm, normally what you see us build is a 110 with a roll cage and could have lights, and of course it's lifted like this one. But I think I spent way too much time watching some James Bond, and the thought was, why not create something that you would see in a James Bond movie? But why not create something that would not only be the villain Defender, but it would also be the James Bond and kind of take on an Aston Martin type feel to it? Well, I think that's what I've done, but you can be the judge. So this build is a very interesting color. It's a beautiful color, and it's going to be hard for me to really show you what it is on photos or in video. This is definitely a color you need to see in person. However, that's what everyone says when they see a Helderburg in person. They're like, oh wow, the pictures in the video just don't do it justice. But we try our hardest to make sure we do. This color is an Arctic gray. The reason it's an Arctic gray is because, yeah, it's gray, but it's blue. It's an interesting color. It's a non-metallic color, but depending on the light, it can take on a little more of the blue hue, or it can take the gray. And then if it's kind of dark in the evening, it goes very dark. It almost looks like a charcoal. I won't say black, but it gets pretty close. So this 110 is, it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed driving it, and it's gonna be sad to see it go. So some elements that you'll see on it, for example, the engine. It is a 300 TDI. That's probably one of my favorite engines because it does not have a computer in it. And they just go. They're bulletproof. That's the bottom line. Easily 500,000 miles without anything needing to be done to it. And then I've seen many of these 300 TDIs with 1,000,000 miles on them. So they just go and go. And they're very fuel efficient, 28 to 32 miles per gallon. So I mentioned no roll cage. So I left the roll cage off because the whole idea was, how do I create that sleek look that you would see like with James Bond in an Aston Martin or the villain vehicle. How I got the villain into it, of course, is the lift. Approximately 3 inches of lift on this, has the proper radius arms, it has Fox shocks, it has Ibach springs. And then moving back to the motor, oh boy, I'm hopping all around. It does have an enlarged intercooler. It has a VNT turbo. It has a 3-inch stainless steel exhaust system all the way through, and it's been re-geared. So it moves down the highway very nice. Roll cages, I like them, but it was just, this time I said, I'm gonna skip it. But there's something very interesting about the interior in this one, and I think I just need to show you that. You see the exterior, you see how beautiful it is, but let's take a look at the interior now. So I teased you about the interior. Let's just talk about the color first, and I know your eyes are looking all around right now, but it's a biscuit and a black. And the reason that I say biscuit, because that's the best way to describe this color. Let's just say it's a medium beige with a black contrast. And then of course I did the biscuit stitch on the black. So that's beautiful. I mean, it's definitely stunning, but maybe you'll notice something in here, that it's really bright in this cabin, and I'll show you in a minute why. But let's draw your attention to something that you've never seen on a Helderburg before. And it's, I had a client come in and he saw this head unit here, this audio system, and he said, wow, that's the size of an iPad. And I said, in fact, it is. So it's about 11 inches. It's large. But it also has a lot of power backing it. It has multiple speakers, it has an amplifier, it's a great sounding stereo, and multiple cameras too. So yeah, backup camera, but you can also do front camera too. So don't know what you would use the front camera for, but it's there. heated seats, my typical wood steering wheel, and then you'll probably notice a new accent that we're doing now too, as far as the indicators for the heat, the defrost, the fresh air are all done. They're a metal and epoxy, and that's one of the things that I love. I don't like plastic. So anything plastic is wrapped in leather, and a lot of the things you touch, even from like the window cranks, billet aluminum. So I just think it's nice to touch metal whenever you're operating something, especially in a Helderburg. I mean, would you expect anything less? So let's move to the back because I mentioned a lot of light in the cabin, and I'm going to show you why. So on the rear of a Helderburg, you always notice the rear corner brackets that are the galvanized metal. Reason I do that is simply, well, I like it, but I'm also showing you that this complete vehicle, everything was disassembled. The body came off the frame was completely disassembled, and then we built it back piece by piece. So that's why I do this. That's why I don't paint them. And it also just gives a little bit of contrast of color. It's just interesting. That's not something that you see on a new Defender or any vehicle on the road. So it's different, and it says bespoke. Notice the bumper. It's not the typical bumper that we've done on a number of them. So this is the rear corner bumper protector system. It's basically a step. It cleans it up versus the typical NAS bumper with the receiver hitch. We can add a receiver hitch on this, but didn't really need one. I just wanted a very clean bumper on the rear. So let's take a look on the inside now. And it's going to be a little different than what you've normally seen. Probably the first thing you're noticing is the custom mahogany Helderburg floor that we've done, and then the mahogany side tracks, and then the center-facing benches. So gives it a really warm feel. The other thing you'll probably notice is just, again, how much light is happening. And that's because of the massive panoramic roof that's here. It doesn't open, but it definitely creates a lot of light in the cabin and just gives it an extra touch. It lightens up the cabin, but it gives you the opportunity to go with a dark interior or a dark headliner, so it creates that mood. Talking about mood, this is a first for us. We have LED accent lighting. Basically what we're doing is we're lighting the headliner with a warm color LED lighting. You can really see it at night. It's not real bright in the day. It's actually hard to see during the day. But at night, it definitely gives that mood. LED lighting is also under the mahogany wood strips, which runs down the side of the wheel wells. And then we also have a mahogany wood strip that's running in the second row. LED lighting under that also. And then that big iPad screen that I mentioned earlier, that's over 11 inches, it also has LED lighting behind it. So this is a first, and I'm sure it won't be a last, because it definitely evokes a mood.